Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Asgardians and mutants alike. Welcome to another Liam Maiden gameplay video, back with more Marvel Strike Force today. Now, we've recently had a ton of exciting updates to the game. The arrival of Gamma Squad, Bionic Avengers, new game modes, tons of stuff to be excited for in Marvel Strike Force. But today, we're actually going to be focusing on something that's a little old now, DD4. Notably, I'm going to complete DD4. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to complete DD4 for the second time and unlock 7-star Doctor Doom. I'm going to go over the teams that I used for this and a little bit of planning for DD5 as well. So as you can see, this is my second run through, taking me about 2 weeks. This is the final node. This is my second attack on this final node here using legendary characters. Last time I did just under 80 million damage, so I'm feeling relatively confident that I should be able to complete it this second go around. This is a squad that I'm using here, just under 750,000 power in them. I'm going to talk a little bit more about all of the squads later, but for now, let's just see if I can do this and finally complete Dark Dimension 4 for the second time and unlock 7-star Doctor Doom. Let's do this. Okay, so Human Torch will always perform his ultimate ability, and Ultimus will always perform his ultimate ability too, so that's new. I don't think they did that on DD3, but now on pretty much every single node, you have characters that you're facing who just get extra charge, basically. They can always use their ultimates, and their specials just makes things a little more difficult. But I don't think this is going to be a problem this time around. Only got 14 tunes left out of 62. Boom, look at that, Omega Red. Omega Red is so powerful on these nodes. Again, I really am going to go in depth talking about these characters and why I've chosen them and how well they perform. But Omega Red is a massive damage dealer. He's really one of the top performers, in my opinion, in Dark Dimension 4 at the moment, and hopefully Dark Dimension 5 too. Again, talk about that in a little bit here. But I mean, man, we are just completely in control of this node here. I don't think this is going to be a problem at all. Just got to get around that taunt on Ultimus there. So we don't need to use Shuri's heal just yet, so I'm going to save that for later. Let's see if we can drop an AoE here from Omega Red. Boom, there we go. Just cutting through the enemy, so powerful. Omega Red and Morgan Le Fay. Again, as I said, I will talk more about them in a minute. Here's Morgan, boom. But they're so powerful on this in DD4 for these legendary nodes where you have to use legendary characters too, that I would definitely recommend. Darkhawk 2, not bad, not a bad addition. He can be quite tanky as well. Boom. Okay, so this is it. So that's all the characters, all the tunes, the final 8 tunes out on the field right now. So we have definitely done this. This almost seems kind of anticlimactic since I did so much damage last time to only have these few tunes to mop up this time. I was really close to doing it in a single assault, but they took out Omega Red, and once Omega Red was down, everyone just toppled. It was kind of the big damage dealer was out of the way. So dang, so we've got that heal block on Shuri there. That is a little bit of a shame, since she is, I think, the weakest tune in terms of health right now. So I do want to try and take out Taskmaster before he can try and blind my squad here. It doesn't look like this is going to be an issue. Oof, okay. Oh, that was just a blind on Darkhawk there. That's fine. We're going to call in, boom. Call in Shocker again and get around that blind that way. Wow, Taskmaster, boom. Okay, I was just about to say still standing, but then immediately took him out with Adam Warlock. Okay, let's drop another AoE. Boom. Oh, okay, so they stunned Omega Red. That is not... Mordo stunned Omega Red. That's not great. Ouch, so Shuri's really racking up some debuffs there. Unfortunately, that heal block is pretty persistent right there. Wow, so we got so much bleed there, but everyone is holding on. Okay, a taunt, that's fine. Okay, Shuri really taking damage now. She's got a lot of heals, but also that heal block there. That's such a shame we can't use her heal. Literally no one else needs it. I really hope we don't lose Shuri. I mean, not that it costs us anything, but I'd like to do this with everyone still standing. Dang, still sitting on that heal block. Okay, fine. Okay, bye-bye Mordo. Ouch. Okay, Shuri getting really low now. Come on, so close though. 4 tunes. We've done this. It's a bit of a grind, right? DD4 is a massive grind. I think DD3 was a massive grind too, but DD4 even more. Even more so. Come on. We are so close here. Boom, 3 tunes left. Let's take out Vision. Boom. Okay, there we go. Boom. Just Emma Frost. And we still cannot use that heal on Shuri. That's fine. We're going to do this without healing Shuri. I will take it. A win is a win. Okay, Omega Red. Boom. There we go. That is DD4. Dark Dimension 4 completed for the second time, and there we go. Look at all that gear right there. I love it so much. Of course, it's ironic with the Dark Dimension. They give you all the gear that you need to have, to have gotten teams for that Dark Dimension. So this orange gear doesn't really excite me now. Boom! But we got those 500 extra shards to take Dr. Doom up to 7-star and 4 red stars as well. That I will take. But yeah, it's teal gear I'm after now for DD5. Anyway, more about that in a minute. Let's take Dr. Doom up to 7 stars. Such a powerful tune. I'm going to talk about him in a second, but such a great tune. So that's the red stars right there. Now let's rank him up. Let's do this. Here we go. 1 more star. Boom. There we go. 170,000 power for my Dr. Doom. Got all the T4s on him. Gear tier 15 using the Striker ISO at blue 2 right now. Level 85 on his power 2. He is such an amazing tune. I'll talk about him in literally just a second. But there you go. I'm so excited that I've completed DD4. Do let me know down in the comments how you're doing on Dark Dimension. I had a couple of people comment already on my previous DD3 video letting me know that they had now completed DD4. I really love to hear that. Glad it's going well for you. Let me know the teams that you used if you get a chance. Always keen to hear about the squads people are coming up with and the tunes that they're taking up to higher gear levels. So these are my squads here. These are the squads that I used to complete Dark Dimension 4. Now the way Dark Dimension 4 works is you need a global squad, you need a cosmic squad, you need a city squad, and then you need a legendary squad. So for those first 3, global, city, and cosmic, you cannot use legendary tunes. They have to be non-legendary with the global, the cosmic, and the city tag. And then finally you get to use your legendary tunes, but only your legendary tunes for the last few nodes. And that's actually the same for DD4 and DD5. So the advantage there is the teams that you come up with for DD4, you can immediately take over into DD5 once you have them up to the required gear level, which is of course gear tier 15 rather for DD4 and gear tier 16 for DD5. That's where that teal gear comes in. So it's really, really important when you're planning your squads for Dark Dimension 4 that you're already thinking about tunes you want to take into Dark Dimension 5. So let's start right at the top here. So this is my global squad that I've used. Now the first thing you're going to notice is that Dr. Doom is right there. Now Dr. Doom, as I mentioned, is a really awesome tune just across the board, and he performs really, really well in Dark Dimension 4. And I think that's going to be the case in DD5 as well. So as soon as you've unlocked him, when you complete your first run of DD4 and you get him at that 5-star initial unlock, I do recommend powering him up as quickly as possible and putting him in your team for the second run through, definitely for the team that you're going to be taking on to DD5. He really performed really well for me. Obviously, you're not going to have him for your first run though, and the tune that I actually used here the first time I went through DD4 was Ghost. Now Ghost, a tune that I had used for DD3 as well. She is a very powerful tune, and she does give extra bonuses to the whole squad when she's in Dark Dimension. However, I think she's a little weak moving forward, so I'm not going to take her into DD5. Another tune you could use also would be Ultron. Now I actually did use Ultron as well in my first run through of this. I subbed him in for Sabretooth. Talk about that in just a minute. Again, he's a great character. You unlock him through DD2. I actually do have a real soft spot for Ultron, but he's just a little squishy. The higher up you go, the squishier he gets, the less impressive he was, which is why I've subbed him out right now. But those are two other good options, I think, for your first run through. So let's take a look at the other tunes that I have on this global team here. So really the heart of this global team is formed around Secret Avengers. So obviously that is Captain Sam, Maria Hill, and Sharon Carter. They are really the stars. They're the bedrock of this global team. I've been saying it for a long time that I really do recommend using them for the global nodes on DD4, and I do plan to take them up to DD5 as well. I think right now they're just super solid choices and ones that I would definitely recommend. But let's take a look at this fifth character, the character in the fifth spot here. I've chosen to take up Sabretooth. Now Sabretooth obviously in place of those other two tunes I could have used. I already had up at Gear 15 Ghost and Ultron. Now why did I use Sabretooth? Well, that's a good question. And here's the simple answer: cost. Sabretooth is a really cheap character to take up to Gear 16. So when it comes to designing your squads, as I said, you do want to be thinking about the tunes that you want to take up to DD5, that you want to take up to that Gear 16 level. And when you're doing that, you've got to think about resource management, right? You've got to think about how you're going to balance your resources. So you don't want to have too many tunes who need the same kind of resources, and you also don't want to have too many resource heavy tunes that require a lot of teal pieces to take them up to Gear 16. So when you're trying to look for tunes that are maybe cheaper than others to take up to certain gear levels, or just trying to get some background on tunes, one resource that I think is really great to use is MSF, MarvelStrikeForce.gg. Now maybe a lot of you use this anyway, but I just thought I'd give a quick shout out because it's how I worked out what tunes I wanted to bring up to Gear 16. There's a ton of information here, and as you can see, if we just call up, you can see all the characters here, and if we call up Sabretooth real quickly, you can see that he only requires 2 teal gear pieces to go up to Gear 16. Now that's compared to someone like Sam, for example, Captain Sam, who requires 4 teal gear pieces. So he's a very pricey character. So I'm already spending a lot on Sam and actually all the Secret Avengers. Plus there's a lot of gear overlap there. So I wanted to bring in someone different, which is why I went Mutant. And then I specifically went for Sabretooth, A, because he's cheap, you only need those 2 teal gear pieces, and B, because he's already on a pretty powerful team. Using him with a Mega Red, obviously you've seen I'm using a Mega Red in my Legendary team here, part of the Weapon X team, a team that I'm already using elsewhere in the game. So when I'm designing these squads, I try to balance, bring up tunes that I really want to bring up because they're very powerful and they're top performers, like Secret Avengers and Doctor Doom, against characters that I'm really just going to get, the bang for my buck, the best value from cheaper characters like Sabretooth. And I'm just choosing totally random characters when I do that. I am trying to choose characters that I can use in squads that are relevant right now, like Weapon X for Sabretooth, but that's the rationale behind that there. That's why I have Sabretooth in that 5th spot, and it's something that I would encourage you all to do. Head on over to msf.gg and take a look at your characters and see, just bear that in mind when you're planning the squads you want to use. I'll just quickly offer an alternative if you don't want to use Sabretooth because he is kind of old. Another good option I think would be Lady Deathstrike. She is obviously also on that Weapon X squad. She's a much newer tune, and again, she only needs 2 teal gear pieces in order to take her up to Gear Tier 16. The reason I didn't choose her, as you can see here, she's only on 5 stars for me, so I literally just went with more power that I can get from Sabretooth. But I think Lady Deathstrike would be another solid option as well. Okay, so that's my global squad, the one I use for DD4, and I'm planning to use for DD5. Questions, comments, criticisms down below. We are going to move on now to the Cosmic Squad. Now, the Cosmic Squad, in some ways I have less to say about this squad because for me, it was just a slam dunk, just a clear, obvious choices here. Eternals, I think you just have to use Eternals. They're still some of the most powerful tunes in the game, some of the most effective. You can see even at this low star level, only got them both at 3 star, 3 red, but still only 3 star, about 100,000 power. they're just so incredibly powerful. If you're going to use Eternals, I think you should really use Deathpool. Again, you know, if you're using her in a squad team or something with Eternals and New Warriors, she's just kind of a no-brainer for me. And then Kestrel. Kestrel, again, incredibly powerful toon. She's got that cosmic tag, so all 4 of those characters were just kind of no-brainers for me. And as you can see here, I haven't even had to take them up to 85, even at level 80. They're just really, really powerful toons, and they got the job done really easily both runs through. So I highly recommend this squad. I think the only kind of odd duck, the odd one out here, is probably this character in the 5th spot, and that is Moondragon. And now I chose Moondragon kind of randomly. Well, not completely randomly, right? I chose her because she's in an Infinity Watch, which is, of course, a powerful squad. But I just chose her because I thought maybe I'd want a healer on the team. It turns out totally unnecessary. Did not need that healer at all. Do I regret bringing her up? No, I don't think so. I think it's decent to have, you know, it's nice to have a decent healer, a powerful healer on my Infinity Watch squad. Just made her a little beefier, so she's got more survivability there. But I don't necessarily know that I would choose to do it again if I was, you know, starting from scratch again on this Cosmic squad. Now, another good option here, I think, would be Phyla-Vell, obviously her teammate on Infinity Watch, but the character that I'm actually going to sub in here when I really get going on planning for DD5, and this might be a little surprising, is Ravager Stitcher. That's right, I'm going to take a minion up to level 85 and gear tier 16, and again, the reason I'm doing that is that Ravager Stitcher, again using MSF.gg, I could see that Ravager Stitcher only needs 2 gear pieces to take him up to gear 16, and again, I'm using him in a squad, currently using him on the Star-Lord T'Challa Ravager squad, which I'm using as a war offense team, occasionally in Cosmic Crucible too. They are effective even at low gear level, but bringing him up to that higher level is not going to be a complete waste of resources because I will get use out of him. So that's my plan for DD5. I think you can sub in anyone that you want in that 5th position there, and I think they'll do really well on DD4 and probably DD5 too, as long as you're using powerful toons, and I would really recommend, you know, Eternals, Kestrel, and Deathpool. Don't have a whole lot else to say about that there. Again, let me know down below if you've already completed DD4 or DD5 even, or you're planning on completing DD4, you're working toward it. Let me know the toons you're using and what you think about this setup here. Moving on to City, actually my most powerful squad out of these 4 squads here. As you can see, I've got 2 characters, Spidey and Cloak, up at gear 16 already. That's because I actually struggled the first time through when I only had them up at level 80 and gear tier 15. I really struggled with some of the City nodes. Now, originally on my first run through here, I actually wasn't using Shang-Chi. I was actually using Ghost Rider instead on this squad. I had them all up at gear tier, only gear tier 15, and I did struggle. I had to do many attempts at the final City node, which is why I really focused on getting a couple of these characters up to gear 16 to try and help me out here. I think the City nodes are a little bit tough in DD4. In terms of the squad composition, again, I really felt that Cloak and Dagger were just no-brainers here. They're such a great, powerful team, and obviously I'm already bringing up Deathpool and the Eternals. I do use this squad sometimes in Squad Arena, in Cosmic Crucible, all over the place. So I really wanted to bring up Cloak and Dagger as well, and I think they're a really great choice for this City node. On top of that, Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen, I think you could really do any kind of combination of characters from Web Warriors, but I think right now, again, they're a premier City team, especially for Doom raids, so I think they're worth investing in. I've already taken Spidey up to gear 16. Spidey-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, I call her Spidey-Gwen, that's just, I don't know, I can't get Ghost Spider to stick in my head, but Spidey-Gwen or Ghost Spider, you know, I think they're the top 2 toons. If I can invest in any toons out of that, the Web Warrior squad, it would be those 2 that I recommend you taking up to gear 16. But they're both pretty pricey toons. They need a lot of teal gear in order to get them up to that higher level. So if, you know, you might want to think about dropping one of them. And if you were only going to bring one of them up, I would focus on star level. In this case, it's Spidey for me because I've got him at 7 red stars. If I can, I'm going to take Spider-Gwen up there, but I'll talk more about characters I might substitute in a second. And then finally, I use Shang-Chi. Again, you know, Heroes for Hire, a great defensive team, right? A great City defensive team, so you're probably going to want to look at Heroes for Hire. Shang-Chi is just a huge damage dealer. Another good choice might be Colleen Wing, but I think that's really going to depend on where you've got her with stars. So then that actually brings me, I think, to my substitute, the character that I might sub in, and I think I might sub this character in for Spidey Gwen just so that I can try and decrease some of the costs, some of the teal gear pieces that I'm having to spend to take these characters up, which again, of course, doesn't mean that I'm not going to take Spidey Gwen up to gear 16 eventually. It just means I'm not going to focus on her before I move on to D5, and that is Misty Knight. So again, I'm going to have two characters. I'm kind of subbing out. Instead of having two Web Warriors characters, I'm going to have two Heroes for Hire characters instead. Misty Knight, because she's another cheap character, you only need 2 teal gear pieces to take her up. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 teal gear pieces to take her up to gear 16. So she is on the cheaper side. It's actually Misty Knight and Luke Cage are the 2 cheapest members of Heroes for Hire to take up to gear 16. I'm going to choose Misty Knight over Luke Cage, partly because I've got her. I obviously have Luke Cage at 7 stars as well. Misty Knight at 7 stars. I think she's just a more useful toon. I'm not a huge fan of Luke Cage in Marvel Strike Force, to be honest with you. He's okay as a tank, protector rather, but I don't think he's that impressive. So I would choose Misty Knight over Luke Cage every single time. But to be honest with you, I don't really think it matters. I think they're both great substitutes, and really any other member of Heroes for Hire I think could slot in there. So I'm not going to place a bet on it. I think it really is going to depend on how my kind of gear farming goes, but I think there's a good chance I will be bringing up Misty Knight and dropping Spidey Gwen when it actually comes to DD5. But as it sits here, this is a squad that I used for DD4. That means we've only got one squad left. It is, of course, my legendary squad. You've already seen them in action, but here is the lineup. Shuri, Omega Red, Darkhawk, Morgan Le Fay, and Adam Warlock. Now, these toons, legendary toons, you've got some awesome toons to pick from here. Shuri, starting left to right, I guess, Shuri is just a really awesome legendary. I've spoken about her before in numerous other videos. She's just a great healer. Obviously, she's still, she's a relatively old character, but her heal is great, and she hands around buffs to the rest of the team, so I think she is a really great option. Omega Red is such a powerhouse in this game. Again, you've seen him in the when I was completing that final node back at the start of the video here. His AoE is just so incredibly powerful, and that's part of the reason that I brought him up to gear 16. He was actually the first character that I brought up to gear 16. He is just such a powerful high performer in this node. And Dark Dimension in general, and I think that's gonna, fingers crossed, I hope that's gonna continue well into DD5 as well, because I've already got him gear 16 and ready to roll. Darkhawk. Now, Darkhawk did not perform amazingly, didn't blow me away in Dark Dimension 4, but he remains just a really solid legendary. Obviously, he's the toon that makes the Sinister Six really makes them kind of usable at this point in the game, and he can be kind of tanky too, and he's got a lot of heal on him, so, I think he's just a solid choice. Not as kind of standout as Omega Red, but still a very good choice going forward, and I do plan to bring him up to DD5. Morgan Le Fay. Again, if I had to choose 2 toons, I could only take 2 toons from this roster forward into DD5 and try and complete DD5 legendary node just with 2 characters. I would definitely choose Omega Red and Morgan Le Fay. She's such a high performer, again, even at low star level. I actually only just got that 4th star on her, so when I was completing DD4, I only had her at 3 red stars. She's just so powerful. Her abilities are just really impressive. Definitely, I do recommend bringing her up to gear 15 and gear 16, using her on DD4 and DD5 if she is available to you. Actually, the first run that I did through, I did not have Morgan Le Fay. I actually instead was using Jubilee. Now, Jubilee, she did fine, but she was too squishy for me. Too squishy a toon, and just not as effective as Morgan Le Fay. I think she's a fine option, especially if you have heavily invested in X-Men. You want to really bring up your mutants. I think Jubilee is a fine option to have here. Another good option, I think, if you want to focus on mutants would be Phoenix, I guess. But to be honest with you, I think Morgan Le Fay is the top choice here. The best Mystic choice by far, although maybe you could sub in Jubilee. So then that brings us to our final member on the list here, and that, of course, is Adam Warlock. Now, Adam Warlock actually is probably the toon on the list here that I have the biggest kind of question mark over whether I'm definitely going to bring him up to DD5. Not because he wasn't a great performer, because he really was, and not because he doesn't have great utility in the game. Obviously part of Infinity Watch, so a really worthwhile toon to invest in. My qualms about Adam Warlock are really that he is kind of pricey. He does perform well, but you know, I've already got Morgan Le Fay and Omega Red on the squad here, Shuri as well. You know, I don't really know that I need another kind of so-so legendary character on this team, so I'm not sure that I'm going to bring Adam Warlock up. He doesn't perform as well outside of the Infinity Watch roster, the Infinity Watch squad rather. That's just my opinion. So, you know, questions over who I might sub in. Well, actually, most of the legendaries are pretty expensive to bring up. They need a lot of teal gear. They're pretty expensive to bring up to gear 16. So the only other legendary, the cheaper legendary that I can really find is Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. Again, not an awesome toon in my personal opinion. I don't know how well she would perform on this squad and what she would really bring to the legendary nodes in DD5, but she is there. I want to put her out there as an option, and I may well end up bringing her up to gear 16. Obviously, I have a lot of work to do on her. She's only at level 70 and gear 12 right now, so I would have a lot of work to do on her, but it may still prove cheaper than bringing Adam Warlock up to gear 16, especially because it's going to require a lot of mystic gear on him, and I can maybe better spend that on Morgan Le Fay. Well, there you go. That was my rundown of the teams that I used to complete DD4. You witnessed me completing DD4, the final legendary node of DD4 for the second time, and getting those 7 stars on Doctor Doom, and then talking a little bit about my plans for DD5. These are the teams, as I say, with those caveats, with those possible substitutions, these are the teams that I'm planning on bringing up to DD5. Let me know down below what you think of them, tunes that you have used or are using or are planning on powering up. Always love to hear your comments down below. Well, there you go. Congratulations if you're still here. This was a long video today. I hope you found it helpful, informative, or entertaining in some way. If you did, please consider giving it a like, a thumbs up down below. I really do appreciate it, and it helps out the channel. And hey, while you're here, why not consider subscribing to Liam Maiden Gameplay? I drop new gameplay videos for Marvel Strike Force and Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes every single week, and I would love to have you along for the ride. Also a great way to keep up with my journey as I now begin the long slog toward Dark Dimension 5. Love to have you along for that journey. Well, that is all from me today. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Look forward to seeing you again in the next one. In the meantime, look after each other.